Some people think Ambedkar didn't save Buddhism, he broke it. The Buddhism that he founded was one that he wanted to recast the world as well as that traditional belief system. And it came at the end of a long journey of trying other ways to make change, to end the caste system, to end the treatment of him and other people like him as polluting. He started by then looking at ways to reform Hinduism. He worked closely with high caste Hindus who wanted to end caste prejudices. But he was actually banned from speaking because he refused to compromise his message on the way some scriptures treated him and others like him as defiling and polluting. He also tried the satyagraha method, the non-violent direct action inspired by Gandhi. He tried to gain access to temples for him and other people who were Dalits, who refused entry into the temples of their own religion because they were considered to be defiling. And with some success, but what he found was that it led to violence against his people and access to a temple which continued to treat them as polluting. And then when he tried to get to the courts, to get access to temples or to wells that he was not allowed to access, well, it was all just mired up in the courts. He became the chair of the Constitutional Committee for the whole of India, the new constitution for this new nation state, but found that he was stopped at every turn by others who wanted to water down his message of equality, of affirmative action. And so the constitution that he's so famous for writing is one that actually, in the end, he didn't think was worth it. Bhim began to see that it wasn't enough for him to have a seat at the table. He wanted to set a new table where everyone had a place to sit and be recognized as equal. But not everyone liked his new form of Buddhism, his Navayana Buddhism. For some, it was too modern. He rejected clericalism. He rejected all kinds of religious belief that was founded on metaphysics or superstition. For some, it was too political because he saw karma as a political action and reaction rather than something that was about the next life and the next life. He rejected ideas of reincarnation and rather saw energy as constantly moving rather than a rebirth of our actual selves, as it were. And he called the fourth noble truth educate, agitate, and organize, rather than the way the fourth noble truth is depicted by most Buddhists as the Eightfold Path. By the way, he did still think the Eightfold Path was important, but he rethought it as being about political liberation. And Nirvana was about changing the world that we're in, rather than waiting for the next world after we die. And of course, Buddhism is always changing, has always changed over 2,500 years. And in many ways, Ambedkar was actually restoring what the Buddha had always said, which was we shouldn't be about those questions that we can't answer, those questions about metaphysics. Is there another life? Is there a soul? Is there a God? For the Buddha, those weren't the important questions. The important question was, how do we alleviate suffering for ourselves and for people around us? And anyway, who defines authenticity? But this isn't an easy conflict to resolve, is it? There's a big question for all of us about tradition and innovation, because whatever you think of Buddhism, millions have already made their choice. In the next video, we'll look at what they've built and why it still matters.